Hello, everyone. I'm Kelly Westenfeld, the Director of Collegiate Recruitment and Communication for the College of Arts and Sciences. And I would like to welcome you today to our virtual open house, where you'll learn more about the academics and opportunities available to students within the psychology department here in the College of Arts and Sciences. Today, we have faculty and student ambassadors available to answer any questions that you may have. If you do have a question, please be sure to enter it into the Q&A box and we will answer those throughout our presentation. Now, I would like to introduce you to the Director for the Undergraduate Program in Psychology, Dr. Margaret Tarampi. Dr. Tarampi?
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm Dr. Tarampi. Let me just introduce some of our panelists today who are joining us. Myself, I'm an assistant professor in the psychology department. My areas of specialization are cognitive psychology and interdisciplinary psychology, and that I'm also trained as an architect, and so my research is at the intersection of architecture and psychology. We have Isabella Okundo with us, who is our psychology internship director. You just met Kelly Westenfeld, who is our director of collegiate recruitment and communication. And we're so excited that we have two of our students today with us, Leslie Carabali, who is a psychology major, who will be graduating this May, as well as Yuli Dachi, who's also a psychology major, as well as a mathematics and a politics and government major. So he's a triple major, and also the president of our student government. So the College of Arts and Sciences, maybe you've already heard that it's the largest college at UHart, offering 24 undergraduate majors and 28 minors. And one reason that's interesting and important is because in the psychology department, the major is quite flexible to allow you to pursue minors and even double majors in many cases that will best fit your personal interests and your career goals. And I just wanted to have Leslie and Yuli maybe talk a little bit about how they've pursued other interests at the university.
Hi, yes. So I am a psych major, obviously, and I'm also going to be declaring as a criminal justice minor in a few days. Like Dr. Tarampi was saying, it is definitely very flexible. I remember coming in, I was a bit nervous as to what exactly I wanted to do. And then when I saw my interest also graduate towards criminal justice, I looked more into it and I realized not only is it possible, but a lot of my requirements, for instance, for my psych major also relate to requirements for that minor. So overall, everything works out. I'm not saying it's easy because it won't be easy, but it's definitely flexible and very possible.
Yeah, and I can definitely concur with that. Hi, everyone. Yuli here. It is one of the majors which I think also encourages you to pursue other opportunities, just because you learn so many theories and so many things that are applicable to so many other fields. And I guess by the first or second semester, another field starts sort of piquing your interest. You start developing what you really like to do. So you think to yourself, why shouldn't I also go and join these two things together that I like? And the good part about psych is that it allows you, again, it doesn't only allow you, I think it encourages you to pursue something else, just because you develop a better understanding of things.
Thanks, guys. So our department has top-notch teachers and scholars who are experts in the subfields of psychology, including clinical, developmental, experimental, health psychology, industrial organizational psych, school psych, cognitive, and social psychology. And so that means that not only are they doing research through which you can contribute to, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a second, But these are also faculty members who are dedicated and passionate teachers. You're going to receive exceptional discipline-specific training in psychology, where I'll talk more about the core courses that you'll be taking and the courses that you can take across the various domains that we offer here at UHart. But you'll also be trained with a broader set of skills that will prepare you for a wide range of professions if you don't end up going into psychology specifically. We also, in the College of Arts and Sciences, have a requirement called Learning Beyond the Classroom, which really helps in terms of career preparation and into the development of independent critical thinking skills. And this is usually fulfilled through some sort of academic experience as well as a reflection. And that could be, that academic experience can be internship, which you'll hear about later, and probably the primary way that many of our students meet this requirement. But it also can be things like preceptorship, where you can serve as a preceptor for a faculty member in a class that maybe you excelled at or were really interested in. That means that you act as a teaching assistant. You might pursue an honors thesis, and we had 6 graduating seniors this past year who pursued honors theses, both at the department level and at the university level. You can do independent research with a faculty member. You can study abroad, and we really encourage that study abroad experience and the ways that that can happen during your stay here. That learning beyond the classroom can also be met through service learning or some sort of community engagement. So there's many different ways to get this learning beyond the classroom requirement, but the reason why that we prioritize that is because it gives you some real world experience to apply what you're learning in the classroom out into the world. That leads to career preparation. So not only through learning beyond the classroom, not only through the types of skills that you're going to acquire, but also we're going to help in terms of preparing you for that transition from university life to either a job or to graduate school. And we do that through presenting you with the kind of more common career options for students. And later on, we'll hear more about that, the types of careers that psychology majors then go into. We'll also talk about different pathways in terms of graduate school. And last year, more than half of our psychology graduates began graduate school within 6 months of graduation. And they got accepted to programs all over the United States. Many chose to stay here at UHart. And then we also have a very close and welcoming community in the Department of Psychology. We're very close-knit. Even though we're a large major, we know each other. We have open doors in terms of our faculty, so you can easily find them in their offices, maybe pre-COVID more so, but we always have this open door policy, and faculty are always willing to meet with their students and have casual conversations and then more intellectual conversations as well. And we also have many social events as a department, which also I think adds to this cohesion. Here's our faculty. All of our classes and labs are really small, so you get to know your faculty and your classmates during your time at UHart. As I mentioned, our faculty are experts in a range of subfields within psychology, and there's many opportunities to co-publish and present research findings with them. And some of the research labs that we have in our department are, I have a research lab that's on spatial cognition and physical environments. Dr. Segul has a lab on education and stress. Dr. Costello studies cognition and perception in aging in older adults. Dr. Politicos has a lab that looks at the intersection of psychology and education. Dr. Kate has a lab on culture, affect, social interaction, and health. And many of us have undergraduate research assistants who help us in our research and then subsequently present at research conferences. And so I just wanted to give the opportunity to Leslie and Yuli to maybe talk about their own experiences with the faculty in terms of their relationships with faculty in the classroom or perhaps working in their labs or as advisors.
Yes, I feel like going off of what you were saying, Dr. Tarampi, I think there's a lot I could say, but the main thing is the closeness. I feel that since we are so small, everyone either knows each other or is going to get to know each other. I remember coming in, I started with one of my professors and he was just teaching my class. And then I went on into conducting research with him. And then I turned into helping him with the research, becoming his research assistant. And now he's gonna help me apply and continue on for my graduate school. So that is definitely a big help. And yeah, I think the main thing is closeness and how everyone feels very comfortable and knows that there will always be a faculty, not just in like the space of learning environment, but definitely outside of that as well.
Yeah, I think what really is a testament to that is that I'm looking at this image and I think I can name about everyone but 2 people in here who I'm pretty sure are people who are in the graduate programs that I would have had no way to interact with, which I guess really speaks to, but it's true, you know, as you go through the psychology requirements, you actually get to meet all of these professors. And I don't think there's a single one of them that my relationship with them has started and stopped in the class that I took. It always goes a little bit beyond, whether it is a meeting or a comment or a conversation that they initiate or that I initiate, which sometimes just stays into a conversation of the professor checking in on you and trying to develop or your curiosity, and sometimes moves into you know, a more formal commitment, like a research partnership or a preceptorship. I think I see Dr. Kate here, who I'm precepting currently for. I precepted for Dr. Madison, who was at the bottom right corner. And there's also, I think, again, Dr. Tramp, me and you, I think even before we had a class together, we spoke all the time, and I'd ask you questions about papers, and then you'd send things my way, and you'd show me the cognitive games in your office. So it really is a very eclectic and fun community to be in the psychology department. And I must say, it's also very unique to the psychology department. I know that the rest of the school also is pretty close, but I don't think anybody's as cool and as hip as the psych professors.
Thanks both of you. So I just wanted to talk a little bit more about some of the skills that you'll develop through our curriculum. You know, people who get a bachelor's degree in psychology will graduate with excellent research and writing skills. They are going to be good problem solvers. They're going to really have well-developed and higher level thinking abilities in terms of analyzing, evaluating, synthesizing information. And so when you take psychology as your major, in all of your classes, you're going to be developing these skills and honing them throughout your time here. And so I wanted to also say that, you know, faculty's commitment to teaching is really focused on the utilization of innovative pedagogies, that is, methods and practices of teaching. We use evidence-based practices that are student-centered in terms of learning. So where are the students in their learning? And then we try to use the appropriate teaching strategies and interventions to match the students. And we can then monitor student progress and then evaluate how effective our teaching is. We're constantly evaluating our teaching effectiveness as faculty members because we want to be able to be the best teachers that we can be. We use active learning in most of our classrooms. That's where students are going to be active in their own learning, and we see the classroom as a problem-solving environment. This allows for deeper engagement of students with the content, as well as applying their learning to real-world situations. For example, in a class that I teach on applied cognition called Human Factors, the way that it's set up is that students do the reading outside of class, and then in class we really focus on how do we apply those findings or that research in a way that will allow us to really understand the concepts in a different way, right? Just as a human factors researcher would do in practice out in the real world. So in psychology, the major core requirements are these 4 classes. Everyone takes these classes. Introduction to psychology, right? So right from the beginning, you're going to be immersed in the idea of psychology as a science. And then that idea is going to be reinforced through your time here. Statistics is very important in terms of psychology in being able to effectively conduct research in order to be able to read and evaluate research in journal articles, for example. It's important in terms of developing your critical thinking and analytic skills. And it also makes you an informed consumer of science, which is so important these days in terms of being able to look at the science and interpret it for yourself. Research methods for psychology is where you'll gain firsthand experience with the process of generating psychological knowledge through research. You're going to do a research project in that class where you go from designing that study to conducting the study, collecting the data, and analyzing it, and then presenting that work. And then from there, there's many opportunities, as Leslie and Yulia talked about before, to work in labs or do honors theses or independent studies where you can also continue to pursue your own questions that you might be interested in. And then finally, our capstone class is History and Systems. And this provides you with an overall view of how the field of psychology has emerged over time. From the beginning in terms of its philosophical underpinnings and its historical roots as a science, and then moving into the kind of modern evolution of psychology within this broader sociocultural context. In addition to these core requirements, you're also are required to take classes in each of the domains of psychology that we focus on here, which is developmental psychology, so psychology throughout the lifespan from birth to death. So that might be infant and child or adolescent development. Biological psychology, which looks at the relationship of psychological processes and physiological events. So looking at that connection of the mind and the body. Social cultural psychology, so how does our mental processes and our behavior, how is it shaped by our interactions with other people? Cognition and learning is related to how we think, how we learn. It's related to memory, it's related to problem solving, all of these things that we do every day. Personality and individual differences focuses on how people are individually different due to some sort of either personality traits or other psychological characteristics. And then we also have a whole body of electives that are available. some of the more popular classes are listed here. Workplace psychology, which is taught by some of our faculty who also teach in our graduate program for industrial and organizational psych. Human sexual behavior, stress and stress management are also quite popular courses in our department, as well as sports and health psychology, which are courses that focus on that relationship of health and illness and psychological concepts. And certainly we have the more traditional course in terms of clinical and counseling psychology. So I'm going to pass things on to Isabella Kunda, who's going to talk about our internship program in the department.
Hi, everybody. So my name is Isabella Okendo. Like Dr. Tarampi said, I'm the coordinator of internships for the department. So what you see on your screen here is just a very abbreviated list of internship sites that our department is affiliated with. The list actually is more like closer to 50 sites actually. So we have connections with a bunch of different places that accept our interns, everywhere from schools. So if you're interested in working with children, you can do an internship in a school, work with a school psychologist, for example, or a special ed teacher or somebody like that. We are affiliated with nonprofit organizations. So if you're interested in doing kind of that, like that social piece of psychology, that's something you can definitely explore. We have some sites that have to do with like probation offices, prisons, and the criminal justice kind of side of psychology. So there's just a lot of different options. And, you know, if there's something that you're interested in within psychology, and we don't have a current site, we are adding sites to our list all the time. So we can definitely find something that fits your interests. Okay, so like Dr. Tarampi mentioned a little bit earlier, we have our learning beyond the classroom requirement for our students, and doing an internship is a really great way to fulfill that requirement. Because not only do you get the credit for it, but you also get that like real world experience that you wouldn't get anywhere else, okay? So, you know, the best way to learn is by doing, all right? And the best way to explore your interest is by actually getting out there and working for these organizations, okay? So it's a really, really unique opportunity to, you know, kind of figure out where you want to go with your career, what you want to do when you grow up, you know, and you can do an internship more than once too. So what's really cool about that is, you know, if you have an idea of something that you might want to explore, a potential career idea, and then you do the internship and you're like, wow, that's not what I thought it was going to be at all. You can do another internship in a completely different field and explore that. So, you know, it's a really great way to, you know, kind of find a focus, and it might help you decide on where you want to go to grad school or where you want to work after you graduate, stuff like that. So it's a really, really great opportunity. We have, our program has been growing over the last year, over the last several years. Last school year, we had about between 20 and 25 interns each semester. Okay, so you know we have a lot of students out there in the community doing you know, this work and learning about you know, our local community. This year is a little bit different because students choose their internship sites the semester prior to when they're actually going to be interning. And as you probably know, the world has changed quite a bit over the last several months. So our internship program has shifted as well. So we don't have quite as many this semester. However, what we are working on now is developing connections with places that will accept remote interns, okay? So for, we have a few interns this semester that are doing a completely remote internship, so they're not even actually physically going to these sites. And this is kind of probably gonna be the way of the future in a lot of aspects of life. So, you know, it's a really great way to see how that side of technology works and that kind of stuff. So we're continuing to develop, different opportunities for remote internships and kind of adjusting that way. So again, this list that you have on this slide here is really just a glimpse at the kinds of organizations that we're affiliated with. We also have, like I said, probation office. We have the Yukon Health Center on our list. We have some counseling centers and things like that. So it's really a really great opportunity. And to wrap up, I just want to talk a little bit about careers in psychology and what you might expect to do with a degree in psychology. Okay, so some statistics here: about 6% of bachelor degrees are in psychology. Out of all of the majors out there and all the bachelor's degrees that are available, 6% is actually quite a decent number. 64% of psychology majors end up working in psychology or a closely related field. So we have really excellent employability. And the US Bureau of Labor Statistics actually predicts that these numbers are going to increase. Okay, so the Labor Bureau expects that opportunities in psychology will continue to grow over the next decade. And the reason employment is growing is because there is a severely increased demand in psychological services across lots of different places like schools and hospitals, social service agencies, mental health centers, substance abuse treatment clinics, places like that. So there really is just a growing demand for people that are trained in psychology. So employability is great. We have a lot of students who go on to graduate school. About 44% of psychology majors end up pursuing a graduate degree. Okay, so graduate studies can be in a lot of various different fields in psychology. So what do psychologists do if you did decide to get a graduate degree? The first thing that might come to mind, therapy. Yes, there is a clinical psychology track, right? So clinical psychologists will provide therapy, treat mental, emotional, and behavioral disorders. But what you might not know is that there's a lot of other different places where you can take your psychology degree. Okay, for example, research. Okay, psychologists do research. Psychologists study social development. They teach and provide services to students in a university setting or in other school settings. They promote physical and mental health. They study work environments and work-related performance issues. Those are the organizational psychologists. So there's a lot of different avenues that you can take with your psychology degree, okay? So there's just a lot of opportunities within psychology. And like I said before, one of the great ways to explore that is through internship. And you can really kind of, figure out what it is that you want to do in your career in the future.
Great, thank you. So I'll just move things over to Q&A. So if you have any questions, you can feel free to put your question in the Q&A chat box for any one of us, as well as if you have any other general questions about UHeart. I particularly encourage you to ask questions of our student panel members who can maybe give you the student perspective in terms of their experiences pursuing their degrees here. So questions?
Well, Dr. Trampy, I think I can lead a couple of discussion questions for our ambassadors. And I'm going to start with Yuli, because he's already there on my monitor. And Yuli, you are involved in what seems like 100 different things on campus. But without reciting your entire resume for our guest today, if you could, talk about some of the things that you're involved in, I say in particular, student government, being a residence assistant, maybe start with those.
So yeah, I think something that has been imprinted upon me has been that, it's critical to your college experience that while the primary focus should be your academics, it is critical to get involved in the like extracurricular activities as well as things that happen outside of school. Both so you can keep yourself busy, but also you gain a lot of skills that you're unable to learn in an academic setting. You need to experience in the world. I think what has really pushed me to pursue all these opportunities is the fact that you learn how the two are interconnected. So you learn how, for example, the skills that you get in the classroom help you improve. For example, it's helped me improve a lot my work as a resident assistant, as an RA, also my interactions with other people, as well as, the whole critical thinking piece that psychology is so good at teaching students. It's very useful in all these other activities, which is great to keep, a good group of friends and to meet other people that might not necessarily be in your major, but also you get to lead a lot of discussions that come based. So again, the two come hand in hand.
Great, thank you. Leslie, do you want to talk a little bit about some of the things that you're involved in?
Yeah, I feel like I am more involved, apart from being an ambassador, more on the extracurricular activities side. So for instance, I am the president of the boxing team. So the majority of my time, when it's not studying or doing homework, it's focusing on all that and the people there. Apart from that, I was doing research. So as Julie was saying, like the interactions and how it's coexisting with like, sorry, lost my train of thought for a second. Basically, yeah, just going off of that, having all those experiences and learning from it is just very important to do all that.
Leslie, I didn't know you were president of the boxing club. Good job.
Thank you.
Let's see. So one of our attendees today asked a question about what other opportunities are available to students on campus other than psychology. And I know you both touched on some of the things you do outside the classroom. But Yuli, I always love going to this, that you are pursuing 3 different programs of study. And if you could talk a little bit about that adventure that you have been on.
Yeah.
And maybe your reasoning behind it.
I think, adventure is definitely the best way to put it, because it is a bumpy road, but it's honestly, when I look back on it now, because it's my senior year, it really has been a blast. So I actually came here on a different major, so my primary major, which was politics and government. And then somewhere along my freshman year, I took an introductory to psych course, and I thought, oh man, I really love this. I love what we're talking about. I'd like to know more. And I'd really like to, scratch that surface and go beyond it. So I met with one of my professors who in the psych department, and I said, you know what? I think I'm going to declare a psych major. Would you be willing to be my advisor? And then I think the same thing happened with math. And the great part about it is that if you choose to pursue a double major, while the requirements for that specific major cannot be shared, so the requirements in psychology, of course, are going to be very different from requirements in politics or math, the general education classes you can use for both. You can double dip. I think it's a phrase that a lot of people use. So, and that allows you to sort of mold your own schedule. I think, honestly, what's been really critical for me in declaring my multiple majors has been the support of my advisors. And I think that's really important to emphasize, the fact that you don't just get an email that says, hey, take this and this and this class, but instead you get to sort of choose the path that you want to go on once you figure out your interests. And the same thing happens with psych. Dr. Trampy went over the requirements, and the fact that you have these electives that you can touch upon allows you to, focus on the field you want to, but at the same time pursue all your other interests. I think that's been my experience. And again, it's a bumpy road, but it has really been a blast. Sometimes, you don't get to sleep a lot, but that's college for you.
And Yuli, are you on the pre-law advising track? I know law school is in your future, but I wasn't sure if you were following the advising program.
No, I actually I've had a few conversations with law, but I've never officially engaged with the pre-law advising program.
Okay.
That's because, when it comes to law school, that whole idea is very important, but at the same time, I've also been able to find a lot of people, say in the psych department, who are quite knowledgeable about the process. And honestly, what my experience has taught me is that if your dream is pursuing grad school, nobody knows the grad school application process better than psych professors. I don't know why, but they just know it in hand. And they're really great with that. So I have been able to find those mentorship opportunities elsewhere.
Okay. And because I brought up pre-law just for our guests today, to let you know that we do have 2 advising programs on campus. They're not a major, they're advising programs. We have pre-law, which are for students that do have an interest in law school afterward. So the program advises them on which courses help them prepare for the LSAT and for entry into law school. And then the same would go for our pre-med advising program. And actually, you will find a lot of students who are in the psychology program, but have an interest in becoming a doctor, a psychiatrist down the road. And so they may also take on the pre-med advising program, which would be heavy on the biology and the chemistry courses to get them ready for the MCAT as well. Let's see if no one else, as far as our attendees, have any other questions. Then I think one of the questions I always like to end with, and I'm going to ask this of all of our panelists today, both ambassadors and faculty. If you had to give a piece of advice to an incoming University of Hartford student, what would that piece of advice be? And so let's see, how about if we start with Leslie? Leslie, what would your piece of advice be?
Wow, I think probably the number one thing I would say is don't worry. If you're still not sure what you want to do, come in as undecided. If time still passes and you're not sure, try as many things as you can, get involved as much as you can. Try not to overthink or overstress yourself, because trust me, with the help of faculty, other students, and the university as a whole, you will find what you want, you will get through it, and everything will be okay.
Okay. And Professor Okendo, what advice would you have for our guests today?
I would say don't be afraid to try new things. When I was personally in undergrad, I switched my major halfway through college. And, I majored in psychology, and I was the happiest that I had ever been in college after I did that. So, just because you choose one thing doesn't mean that you have to end with that one thing. Okay. Feel free to explore, take classes that you're interested in, and don't be afraid to make a change if you need to.
Thank you. And Dr. Trampy?
Yes, I would say that if you have a lot of different interests, when you come in, you should talk to your advisor, your general advisor, and then also your psychology specific advisor if you declare psychology as your major, about those different interests. And then we can help you kind of point you to different classes that you could take that may help solidify that interest, or it might tell you, oh, maybe that's not what I was really interested in doing. And the earlier you have those conversations, then the more opportunities that we're able to help you and support you with. And I think one thing that happens is that people might wait too long to pursue those things or to talk to faculty about those interests. So even if you're unsure, that's a perfect time to say, I'm interested in these 10 different things. What do you think about that? And we can shape, there's so much flexibility, as I've talked about before, in terms of electives. And there's a lot of choice in terms of the classes you're taking. We might say you should pursue certain classes over other classes because they better match what you're interested in. And then we can help you in this path of trying to find what's a good fit for you.
Thank you. And Yuli, before I get to your comments, one of our guests today did ask a question, so I thought I would address that next. Nicholas asked about questions about learning abroad. So let's see. So we do have a study abroad program here at the university, a very lively study abroad program. And so it's basically, when you come here, it's making an appointment with the study abroad office, having that conversation about perhaps what countries you would like to go to or what you would like to study, having the same conversation with your advisor. So if you know you want to go to, say, an English-speaking country, you look at those countries, you look at the universities, which of those schools might have a really strong psychology program, and maybe that could be one to consider to apply to. Do any of you have, I mean, Yuli, you're an international student, but does anyone on our panel today have any experience of advising a student who is planning to go abroad?
I've had several students study abroad, and one thing that people are surprised to know is that there's ways to use your financial aid packages to help fund that, and also you can study abroad in kind of using the same, it doesn't necessarily have to be way more expensive than staying here at UHeart. It can be, there's many different programs that we have at UHeart, such as there's a London experience where it's just a week or two. So we have really short programs where you go with faculty from UHeart a week-long basis, for example, that might be associated with a class you're taking at UHeart. And then we certainly have the usual study abroad over a semester. And a lot of those classes, we find we have a lot of great relationships with universities across the world. A lot of those classes, in many cases, transfer over. And so what happens is you tell us where you're interested in going, and then we'll look to see what classes are being offered and what they can transfer into in terms of your requirements, so that we make sure that you're on track to graduate, but can also have this great experience abroad, learning from other cultures and from other faculty members.
Wonderful, thank you very much. So Yuli, I'll come back to you now so you can answer that one question about what your piece of advice would be for a student looking to come here.
So Kelly, I actually have to ask you, do we have any parents that might be attending or just are listening?
I believe mostly students are listening right now.
Okay.
But your message will still apply.
I hope so. Guys, advice number one, learn how to do your laundry, because God knows it. I ruined all my sweaters and clothes my freshman year because I didn't know how to do laundry, and I put things in the dryer that I shouldn't have put in the dryer, and I ended up with like crop tops. So learn how to do your laundry. Very important. As for like an academic related advice, I think my experience, I think, has been very successful, mostly because, I took the time to really talk to my professors and to sort of let them know of my academic interests and get engaged, and you sort of learn so much about your field that you really understand where your interests lie. I think honestly it has been key to a successful college experience for me, the idea of getting to know your professors, because the moment, the issue is even though we're a big department, we're a small department, we're really close-knit and everything else. So almost all professors that you have are gonna know your name. The issue is for you guys to take initiative and take it even beyond that. Try to get engaged, try to ask professors if they have available opportunities for research, for assistant professorships. I've done those things, and I've been able to get experience as a preceptor, as a research assistant, which, at the end of the day, they're like small little parts, but now that I'm, for example, in my senior year preparing my resume, it really makes it look good. It really does. So, but that does take some initiative from you. So that would be my thing. Do not stay put, and learn how to.
Yes, laundry and get involved. Thank you, Yuli. So if our guests today don't have any additional questions, as you can see on the screen, it has all of our contact information. Feel free to reach out to us afterward if you do have any additional questions. I also would like to thank all of our panelists for joining us today. This call was recorded, so if you want to see all of us again, you can definitely do so, and that will be accessible through the admission office shortly. Regarding the admission office, if you do have any questions about admission or financial aid, you can visit their website. On the right-hand side of the website, there is a little tab that says Ask Us. You can speak live with an admission representative Monday through Friday from 8:30 to 4:30 p.m. And additionally, throughout the rest of this week, many of the colleges will be hosting major specific webinars. So for example, tomorrow I'll be hosting computer science and criminal justice and sociology. We have the sciences on Thursday, as well as some other programs on campus within education, nursing, and engineering. So just go to the admission website and you can see the entire list there and register for one of the additional events. So thank you for joining us today and good luck with the rest of senior year. Take care and thank you all. Bye-bye.
Everyone.